When you look at today's military culture, what gives you hope about the next generation of women stepping into those boots?
We have more women serving now more than ever. We are one of the fastest growing demographics there, and there's far more research on women veterans. So the hope is what my sisters in the past have gone through, whether it's medically or whatever, that the research now will be there to support them. Research for women veterans is just now starting to happen in the last 5 to 10 years, and there is much more in Congress going on. So I'm hopefully that my sisters will continue to step up. My brothers will be there to support them. And at the end of the day, if they need it, then the research will be there so the VA can get them the help they need.
Unfinished business, stand up tall.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. After years of talking with veterans, here's what I've learned. Women carry a weight in this country most never see. They serve the same nation, wear the same uniform, and take the same oath, yet so much of their story is unseen. People notice the rank and the ceremony. They rarely notice the weight she shoulders or how hard she works to hold her ground in rooms that were never meant with her in mind. And when the uniform comes off, the mission doesn't end, it shifts. She has to rebuild who she is outside of the chain of command and prove her story belongs inside the word veteran. Dr. Katie Baillio knows that journey well. She's spent years advocating for women who serve, from the research she's pursued as a scholar to the spaces she built as a leader. She's created rooms where women can tell the truth of their service, be met with respect, and finally seen without explanation. And that's where this conversation belongs today, with the truth women carry and the power that rises in them when someone finally listens. Katie.
What's up?
It's awesome to have you on the podcast, you know?
I know we've known each other for years, so I'm happy to actually be here.
I am too. You know, we have known each other for years, and I think it's for me personally, I've always appreciated your affirmations and your support as a combat veteran, and hearing my story and affirming my pursuits and scholastic pursuits when I was finishing my master's degree, and knowing that you are a pillar of strength in the veteran space with regards to how you represent women has always been inspiring to me. And this thing was long overdue, and it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Well, I always say thank you. And when you first asked me this last year, I was like, wait till my PhD's done. I will do it then. And when I finished it this last August, I said, yes, we're going on the podcast. We're going to do this.
Dr. Katie, can I call you that now?
Yes.
All right. That's awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And I just think the world of you and all the other things you're accomplishing in and outside the veteran space. Let's talk about a little bit about your journey in the military. We'll just do a summary of it, if you don't mind, and show people where you come from and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, a summary. How do you summarize 20 years? No. So, yeah, I did 20 years in the Army. I joined actually when I was 17, went to base training at 18, retired at 38, which, to be fair, was not the goal. My goal was 2 years, 22 weeks, that first enlistment. Fast forward and stuff, and life happens, children happen, marriages happen, divorce happens. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. It changed me, who I was and who I am, and it set the foundation of life of service.
That's beautiful, man. Over 20 years, 17 years old, and such a useful age to retire, pretty much, right? I mean,
well, 38. I retired from the military. I still work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Retire from the military. When you first put on the uniform, what part of you felt seen for the first time, and what part do you feel disappeared?
I want to make sure I say this sort of correctly. When you first put on the uniform, I was in an all-women's company, so we were all together. There was no men there serving. So you disappear, but you disappear because it becomes more about we than I. Because, the Army trains you that way. We are doing something. I'm not doing something. So I think you get seen more as the team, the concept. So, that's ingrained from basic training that it's a we thing, not an I thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. All women's company. What field of expertise were you pursuing at the time?
No, it was basic training. So Charlie 228 Black Lions, if you know, Fort Jackson. Stuff. So, but there were male companies, but I would gladly say in 1992, we were the only ones that graduated everybody. So we outdid the males at that time.
That's awesome. Every woman who serves learns different language of endurance. What did yours sound like, and who taught you? Who taught it to you?
Mine sometimes sounded like one step at a time. I was going to say my grandmother is the one that probably instilled life to me. And I say life because my uncle was born handicapped, spina bifida, and it would be years later in the military that my first daughter was born in the severe and profound. And I got to share some of that resiliency with my grams. Jokingly, it was like, didn't matter where I was in the military. If Jeopardy was on, you don't talk to my grams. That's a fact in the family before she passed away. But my grams is the one that taught me volunteerism, giving back to the community. I knew what blood drives were before it was a thing in the military or afterwards. So it was my grams that instilled the ability to much is given, to much as you give back.
That's awesome. In your lineage, are you the one that joined the military in your family, or do you come from a background of people?
So, okay, funny, and which I did not know this growing up. Both of my grandfathers served in the military. My grandfather on my mother's side actually served in the Korean War. He would pass away when I was about 2 years old from complications for serving in Korea. And on my dad's side, we believe my grandfather, who never talked about anything, served in the Aleutian Island. So yes, there's military in my family, but it wasn't talked about. And obviously I didn't know my dad's fan.
Wow. It's almost genealogical that you served for so long too. Excuse me. There's a version of military life the public imagines, and then there's the one that happens between the lines, barrack doors closing, and briefings ending. What truths from those quiet spaces do you still stay with you?
I think some of it's just for people to understand. For the Army units I was in, it's a lot of repetition. I don't think anybody is like, what are you going to do during the week? You're going to go to PT. What do you do on Monday? You're going to the motor pool. If you're in the Army, you have a Friday, you have a safety briefing. So there's a lot of standard repetition, but it's the quiet moments. It's the 0300 wake ups and it's raining outside. And you define family, because family will carry you through the military, and it may change. People come and go. Some people that I've met when I first went in the military are still in my life. Doesn't mean we always talk, but you have real conversations when you're on guard duty or you're on CQ and it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you laugh and you joke and everything else. So
that's awesome. We didn't touch on the list of accolades that you have. Would you run through those during the military and post-military?
Well, okay. So yes, yeah. In the military, I was fortunate enough for overseas service. I did 2 tours in Korea and 1 in Okinawa. I've been to Iraq. Post-military, I've only worked for state and federal government. So that gives me a very unique perspective. There's only been 1 year that I haven't worked for the state. I've gotten numerous awards for my what I do for my day job. And I've also been in congressional accommodations. And so a lot of that fueled me to continue to do what I do.
And you've also done some work with the VFW, right?
Yeah. So I want to make sure I'm fair. I am a member of the VFW. I'm a Gold Legacy Life member. I am a PUFL in the American Legion, and I'm a life member of DAV. But the VFW is my primary. I've been a post commander. I was the first female district commander in District 1. I've had a number of state level chairmen, and currently I'm the Department of Texas Youth Scholarship chairman and teacher.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I had to make sure I pulled that out of you. There was some stuff I said, I got to get those accolades out there. Wow. I mean, what a wild sense of accomplishment. So much patriotism, so much pride in serving. But am I saying that right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to make a sarcastic comment and the rest will understand this. So my brother makes a comment. So my birthday is July 4th. Stuff. So my brother used to say, only somebody who's born on the 4th of July, served 20 years in the military and continue to serve the veterans.
Yeah,
Maybe it was fate. July 4th being my birthday. I don't know.
that is crazy because my friend John Wayne Walding, born on the 4th of July, named after John Wayne, and Green Beret. So first, the Green Beret amputee that went on to complete a sniper school as an amputee and a Green Beret. When you first realized that when did you first realize that the word leadership could mean something different for women, that authority that didn't have to sound like anyone else's voice?
I was fortunate in the military that I had a warrant officer that believed in me first. So I want to make sure I say that saw the potential and everything else. So her comment was always, know your job. So it wouldn't matter if you were a veteran, male veteran, women veteran, female veteran, know your job and get the respect because you know it. That actually transferred more probably, and so in the VFW when I had mentors than that. And they would say, I carried around bylaw books. It is still my card today and stuff because I went to an event and it was always try to know your job the best you can. You don't always have to know the answers, but people will respect you not because of your gender, but because of your knowledge.
Yeah, that's awesome. You lived inside command and now you work outside. You work outside care. What's the hardest habit from service to unlearn, and what do you still protect at all costs?
I think the hardest one when you're getting out is you can't want it more than somebody else. And that's hard, whether it's doing what I do, help veterans with employment, and you want them to do it, but it has to be their thought and stuff. Whether you're working in the VFW, hey, we should probably do this. And then you run into the phrase, we've always done it that way. I used to tell people, well, you've never had a female post commander, never had a female district commander. So you can't say you've always done it that way because we're all a little different. And it's changing people's perception is hard. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is not always take it so personally. And that's hard when you care. When I'm working with veterans, whether those are my brothers and my sisters. And sometimes you just have to know when to say no. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes.
That's amazing. Yeah, I could see that. That's the first time I've heard it that way. Say you can't care more than someone else, right? That I never thought of it that way because you think about it, it's like, well, you're coming a little too hot for me, right? And I think that's a standard for a lot of combat veterans or especially career veterans when they're going into the market. Saying, man, this guy's he's like a tank just driving through. She's like a drill sergeant pushing.
Well, but I think it comes from a place of service and stuff because sometimes people can see more potential in us than we see in ourselves, depending on where we're at in our life. So you're trying to be that hype person, but sometimes they've got to go through their own journey, whether that's from a professional or personal perspective, and wanting more than them gets frustrating. And so sometimes you have to be like, I've given you the tools. Now you have to make a choice. And I'm still there whether you use them or not.
For many women veterans, the real battle isn't recognition. It's redefinition. It's basically something you just said. How did you start rewriting who you were when the uniform came off?
So I always want to make sure I'm fair when I say that. Is that I retired in 2012. And only 1 year have I not directly worked with veterans. And so transition's a little different when you stay in the veteran space. But I always tell the joke in the comment is the first time I got my nails done, I was pearl. I was like, I can handle pearl. Pearl's easy. Then I went and got metal, and I literally sat in the chair for 5 minutes looking at it. Because for me, I never really saw my nails painted. And that's not a skill set. I had to pay for these. But it was something totally different for me. And it's like, okay, I can do this too. And, your identity shifts, but it doesn't change. You take on new roles and stuff. I've been a wife. I'm a mom still. I have adult children. Taking off the uniform, I'm still a veteran. And for some, they can make that distinction and some never leave it. It depends. It's a personal thing. And I always say in the academic world, we have to say women veterans. I'm still struggling when I say female veterans because it's indoctrinated after 20 years. So I argue with my chair and be like, the VA says female veterans, but academically it's women veterans. So again, there's always little bitty things, but it's a work in progress.
That's awesome. Well, Dr. Baillio, I would say your nails look really amazing today for sure. Me too. I was like, hey, you've kind of went from pearl to dynamic green. Put them, just give them flash. Okay. You study and build spaces where women veterans can speak freely. What happens in those rooms or forums that still doesn't happen anywhere else?
I think there's a truth in healing. Truth means that, and maybe a safe area. So where a woman can say, what did she go through? Good or bad? And stuff like that. I've seen it where a woman feels that the safety to be able to open up, whatever she dealt with in the military, and then watch women come around her. And the safety comes in, I don't have to explain it. I used to joke and said the first time leaving Fort Bragg, I never wore a skirt. We didn't wear skirts. We wore jump pants. And I got to Korea and they were like, skirts. I was like, well, I got to wear a skirt. But other women knew that. I didn't have to explain some of those things. So the truth in healing happens when we can speak our truth and not always be judged for it. I mean, we're all women. We're all different. We're not all the same. No veteran is all the same. But yeah, the ability to say, this happened to me, and then from a good and bad perspective, and then know that there are people cheering you on that know what you've been through.
When I started this podcast with the cold opening, I talked about those women, their stories are never heard, right? And as I was preparing for our conversation, it kind of really hit me hard. It hit me like, you know what? When's the last time I've seen somebody, you see a lot of, respectfully, I'll say, I don't attend every event in the world, but it's like, when is the recognition bestowed upon a woman who's a veteran, who's dedicated her life to service and the military, and I had trouble thinking about that, and so that's how special this interview is for me. I want you to know is to celebrate your career and celebrate your life and your journey that you're on right now, and how you serve veterans. So I just want you to know that today. I want you to know that there's a quiet sisterhood among women who served. One built more on witness than words. What have they taught you about strength that leadership books never could?
That it's okay not to be okay. I mean, we know as veterans, not just women, but we know that. But sometimes women veterans, we probably, sometimes, not all, again, we're not talking about everybody. We look at ourselves very differently. Maybe we look at ourselves from a vision of being a mom. Was I good enough? Let alone being a veteran, and trying to really adjust all those identities is like, who are we now? Who are we now in one space could be, I'm the veteran. Who are we now? At one point in my life, I was a band mom. So it's really just to be okay, to not be okay, and know that not everybody sees ourselves the way we see ourselves. And that's a good thing, and that's a bad thing and stuff. I was being fair to tell Rush, it's like the way he did the write-up about me, I was like, damn right. But, it was just like, sometimes we just have to pause and be like, all right, I'm in the space so we can do this. And sometimes it takes our sisters and our brothers to bring that out. It's not that it's not there. It's just that we champion ourselves, but having others champion us, that's what sometimes leadership is.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for saying that too, because that's usually what I lead with. And as you were talking, I was like, I usually lead with what about the cold opening hit you the most, and which part can you think about it? Can you think about which part hit you the most?
So I think it's when you go into like the rooms that are opening, and you mentioned the ripple effect and stuff. And I really do believe in the ripple effect, meaning that we've had conversations just today while we were working on this stuff, and you never know when you talk to other people, what sparks somebody. When you get to tell them, hey, you didn't know about this resource, and you really get to affect change. And it's like when I'm working with, even in a VFW capacity, it's like, there's things to help you. If you don't need it, pass it along. Change other people one person at a time.
That's amazing. When you look at today's military culture, what gives you hope about the next generation of women stepping into those boots?
We have more women serving now more than ever. We are one of the fastest growing demographics there, and there's far more research on women veterans. So the hope is what my sisters in the past have gone through, whether it's medically or whatever, that the research now will be there to support them. Research for women veterans is just now starting to happen in the last 5 to 10 years, and there is much more in Congress going on. So I'm hopefully that my sisters will continue to step up. My brothers will be there to support them. And at the end of the day, if they need it, then the research will be there so the VA can get them the help they need.
I have one other question before we wrap up, but I do want to ask you, what are you working on? What's exciting out there? Programs that you would like everybody to know about, that's out there available for veterans right now?
Ooh, what am I working on? So
that's a lot.
Actually, and I want to make sure, because people ask me, what are you going to do now since you got your degree? I'm like, okay, so first of all, that was 4 years in the making. And you're like, I'm not exactly sure. I'm always going to be there. Different opportunities will come, the right opportunities. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to choose something that gives me purpose. Whether it's going to be something veteran related, or if I'm just talking to another veteran or a resource, it's let's connect, let's help each other out. So we'll see. I know, a lot of stuff has happened in 2025 for me, professionally and personally. And I always said it would not stop. It's not going to end the way it started. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. Still time.
This is my I would say moment to help you celebrate this great achievement. If a young woman were listening right now, wondering whether her story will ever fit inside the word veteran, what would you want her to know?
She's enough. DJ, and I had this conversation one time, and I said, did you raise your hand and say, I will? And she was like, yes. Well, then you're not different than me. Different, I might have been deployed. You might not have been. And to realize that, own the term veteran. I worked with a veteran one time. She served in the 1980s, nothing going on. And she never even put veteran on her driver's license. We're in Texas. That's a thing. And the more I got to talk to her, and it was like, she realized she was one, but it was actually from her family that served in Vietnam that they told her she wasn't. So I get to go around and tell, it's like, you are a veteran. And so there's a lot of formal definitions, and there's not. You wore the uniform, you said, I will. And just remember that, and I'm always fair when I'm out speaking. Like today, I'm a more business professional. You don't see veteran. And I do the same. Sometimes we can't see ourselves, and that's okay. Just because we're not visible does not mean we're invisible and stuff. And don't be afraid to own your voice, and know that you're not on an island. There's a lot more of us out there than that. And if you ever need to reach out, look, there's a lot of resources out there for you.
Dr. Katie Baillio, amazing conversation, amazing opportunity to spend time with you, and so much more to unpack with you and I, and get underneath the hood a little bit more with questions I want to ask you, and we'll do that at another time. I would love to revisit with another set of experiences for sure.
Oh, definitely. I would glad to be on it. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's it for Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. As I always say, have peace and enlighten you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river.
Unfinished business.